Okay, let us continue the next concept, almost the last of the first module, parallel processing applications. Okay, so what do you mean by parallel processing? Two or more number of programs should be executed at a time. That is basic definition of parallel processing. In that we have seen parallel processing profile, number of processors, Amdahl's law, and all that we have seen. Now let's continue the one definition. What do you mean by massively parallel processing? In a system, if we use hundreds or thousands or more number of processors, that is called as massively parallel processing system. Okay, so today is some complex operations definitely need massively parallel processing capacity. So some of the fields and those fields which need to be addressed, those are 5 examples we have listed. Magnetic recording industry. Okay, as of now this is lesser, that means cassettes. Nowadays we have CD, DVD for a music. Okay, some of the fields like medical magnetic recording still they prefer. In that, today's data will be very high in size, but to store such a data on magnetic recording element will be very time consuming. But we cannot easily shift that medical field easily to CD or DVD type of technology. Still we need magnetic like ECG. Okay, it is going to print in analog graph, continuous graph. Okay, even though medical field is getting technology exposure, still ECG will be computer based and analog. So such type of recording need to be worked with parallel processing systems, that too massive parallel processing systems. Okay, so next, health sectors like cancer detection. Here this is one of the grand challenge, because even though we have many technology or the methods today to identify a cancer, some of the patients, their disease of a cancer will be identified at a third stage or fourth stage, not in earlier stages. So if we find out a better algorithm which works to predict the possibility of growth of the cancer, so for such systems to predict the disease, we need definitely parallel processing. So that too not a regular type of parallel processing, that should be massively, because single processor will get a heavy workload, which it will be able to find out the possible prediction of the cell becoming a cancer will be very late. So to get the result fast, we need more number of processors. So as we increase number of processors in a system, definitely that tends towards massively parallel processing system. Next one is air traffic management or air traffic design. Okay, so nowadays the people moving over the flights and all is more and more. Okay, so there we will find out maximum traffic. To avoid the possible collision or to manage a perfect transportation system, we need a computer system or the software system which will manages complete traffic of the air or airport. So what if we try to maintain an airport with a single processor? Definitely there will be lot of parallel processing activities like ticket reservation, the printing of the passengers list, who are boarded, who are missed, parallelly at what time the flight has taken off, landed, security checks, so many board pass printing, so many activities might be there in the airport. Those all should be executed in a very short time. So that is possible only when we have massively parallel processing system. So next one is aircraft design. As the air traffic is getting more or increased today, that means the aviation field needs accurate, more size, where it can carry maximum number of passengers in a short time, and that to fast service. So to provide that, we should have good designed flights. Okay, so when a industry undergoes for design of an aeroplane or a flight, definitely it has to consider maximum number of parameters at the time of design. So if there are maximum number of parameters to be studied at a time, definitely there should be more number of processors required. Okay, so next one is chemical catalyst. So nowadays in every product which we are using as a food or as a almost all products what we are using are made up of chemical, like tablets or some of the dress. Okay, so those all are developed with the help of chemical. Okay, so here when the research person goes for identifying, there will be some target to find through using some of the chemicals. So which chemical, how it is working, that is going to be measured by individual processors. So that means as we go for more controlled parametered activities, we need more processors to monitor. One more best example is online shopping. Okay, so what happens here is at the client side, means where we are the users, we will put request, okay, for some of the products, sometimes a single product, sometimes multiple products. So at the end, means the server side, there will be hundreds or thousands of users who will add their requirements in the cart. They will go for online transaction, then they will give the address for delivery. So these all things will take place in the parallel from client side. Server side, it will continuously read the request from the users. So it has to process all the users requirements or request. So to handle such a request or resources, which is a worldwide nowadays, we need maximum number of processors in a system. So this again will belongs to massively parallel processing system. So these all are the grand challenges. Okay, next, coming for the next subtopic, what are the arithmetic characteristics of architecture? So the words you already studied, it is kind of a repetition what we have studied in our previous some of the classes. Okay, so deterministic and non-deterministic. So you have studied in your DA subject what you mean by deterministic and non-deterministic. With respect to architecture also, we can predict some of the architectures before we start developing. Some of the architectures we cannot predict, but it has to be derived based on the experiment based. Say for example, we all know how to develop a paper boat. So what is the solution for developing a paper boat? It is fixed. We all learnt in our school days. What we will do, we will follow the same procedure what we have learnt, and we will get a product called as paper boat. So it is deterministic. Non-deterministic means it is not yet existing. We will keep on trying, then by the trial and error approach we will get the architecture. That is called as non-deterministic. Okay, one important note is today's non-deterministic architecture will be deterministic for next day. That means today it might be not yet found, but once the solution is found, that can be used as a reference for the next day or future days reference. Based on that today's research, we can go for any kind of architectures. So next one is computational granularity. That means how we divide one problem into smallest part. Okay, so I took an example of merge sort. So how the merge sort will work? We will take a given array, we will try to divide into smallest part of subsets consisting of 2 elements. Okay, if 10 is the size of a given array on which we have to work on a merge sort, we will divide into 5 subsets, each subset consisting of 2. Between them we will try to sort. Mean in a single subset we will have two elements, we will sort them, and we will do same for all 5. Next, taking two subsets at a time, we will go on merging them based upon the sorting technique. So that is what computational granularity means. Here, try to divide a problem into smallest part and identify the solution, apply the solution for bigger or complex problems with more data set. Next one, parallelism profile. We have studied in our previous classes. We will write degree of parallelism one side, number of processors another side as a x-axis and y-axis. We will plot a graph, and that is called as parallelism profile. Next one is communication patterns. Okay, communication patterns means whether it is a star network, mesh network, or hypercube network, what we have studied in our previous classes. Okay, so that is what communication patterns. Uniformity of operations, this is a new one which we have not yet studied. Uniformity of operations means, is it possible to divide one main task into subtasks which are similar with each other? Most of the time it is not possible. If it is possible, definitely we can write one algorithm for all subsets and try to work on that, so that we will get a smaller code but execution on highest data set. But generally we cannot expect all this at the same time. Okay, take example of your C++ program implementing a simple calculator using a class. So on the top, what we will write? We will write a data set for 2 values, and in a sub functions, what we will call is one sub function for plus, one sub function for the minus, star, and division. Like that we will write. Using object we will call individual functions. Okay, individual functions. Through that we will get the results. Here operation may belong to similar like plus, minus, star, division, which we call it as arithmetic, but internally operations are different. But mode of execution most of the time it will be same, because any operation takes place in a computer it will belongs to either arithmetic or logical. Okay, so next one is memory requirement and data structures used. Memory requirement, see, one problem a person will write in 10 lines using recursion, another person will write same problem using 100 lines without using a recursion. Here first person has used a data structure called as a recursion, that is a programming skill. Okay, another person, whenever there is a recursion, definitely it is use of a stack. So if second person may not be using a recursion, so he may not prefer to use stack. So here memory requirement means, if we are using a recursion we will need a lot of memory. If we are not using a recursion, definitely program will be dynamically allocated with the memory. So allocate and free based upon the data requirement. Okay, these all are arithmetic characteristics of an architecture. Okay, one definition, but this has not asked in the examination, but I felt it is important. ISO efficiency. ISO efficiency. Okay, just I will give the definition. The workload W of an algorithm depends on a problem. Depends on problem size, that is called as S. Hence W is function of S variable. I repeat, as the problem size increases, definitely the total quantity of workload increases. If problem size reduces, workload will also reduces. Hence we say W of S. That means workload is function of problem size. If workload is over the internet, that means what? Execution is in one side, data set is in another computer. So what is the drawback here? The computer which is calculating should think about the time taken to communicate with other computer where data is stored, the time taken to fetch the data. Calculation is independent. Again, the time taken to send the result back to that computer. So here data is in one side, execution is in another side. So what we can expect? Not only problem size, machine size is also important. That is called as general word communication overhead. Communication overhead is now the function of problem size as well as machine size. Okay, so ISO efficiency is given by workload, which is based on the size, whole divided by the summation, plus of workload of size plus overhead of size comma n, that is machine size. Okay, it is one small definition. Okay, coming for the next last concept of this chapter or the module, scalability metrics and goals. Okay, you can expect this question in the examination. On what factor scalability of an architecture of an algorithm is dependent? So these all are the factors which are defined outside this center concept called as scalability of either architecture or algorithm. Okay, so first one is, you can start from anywhere. So problem size, communication overhead, memory demand, computer cost, machine size, CPU time, IO demand, and programming cost. So these all are metrics or measuring units which will decides scalability of an architecture. So first, what do you mean by scalability? Scalability means where we can increase or decrease the architecture of the hardware. Okay, so simple, let us think about this. We have one desktop computer in our home. Okay, we have only monitor, CPU, and keyboard, mouse. Okay, so here scalability means if you want to take a printout through that computer, it is not possible because we don't have extra facility called as printing work. So now it is work to enhance the scale, means hardware scalability. That means we have to purchase one printer, we have to install the device driver, make the printer communicating with main computer. Okay, now we can give the print command, we can execute. Okay, fine. Next, we want to execute one LED experiment using same computer which has printer now. So executing an LED experiment is not possible with help of printer. So what we have to do, we should bring the related components. If possible, you try to recall the microprocessor lab where we have executed 7 segment experiments. So 7 segment display board or that PCB is not available in the open market or even in a computer shop. So we have to go for specific manufacturer and we have to give the request that I have this architecture computer, so give me a device driver for running one 7 segment display program. And he will study our computer architecture, he will give the one peripheral component interface board. That board we have to install on our computer, we have to install a device driver, then scalability is allowed in our computer to connect 7 segment display. So these all activities we did in our 4th semester ARM lab. It is not like the new. Okay, so this we have done. Now think about what is the cost of the computer it was and it is. So say for example, computer cost whichever you have bought from the market is some thousands. So after some days you got to know you need a printout, so you bought a printer. So computer cost is plus computer cost plus printer cost. Now you felt to execute a 7 segment experiment. So what you did is you have ordered one device driver, that is a PCI slot for some developer. Okay, he has developed and given you his cost and his hardware cost, that is included. Then you went for market and purchased some 7 segment display components. Now you have executed on your program. So what is the total cost of the machine now? It is a base computer cost plus printer cost plus PCI plus the 7 segment display. So this is how scalability works. So now some of the definitions. What do you mean by machine size? Machine size is represented by small letter n. So number of processors used in the computer system will be machine size. So in our day-to-day life it will be one main processor and 2 to 3 co-processors. Okay, but as we go for a complex systems, so definitely number of processors will keep increasing. There we can expect 5, 10, hundreds, like that. Okay, I mentioned here what do you mean by massively parallel processing systems. It consists of hundreds or thousands of processors. That means what will be machine size of massively parallel processing units? It will be into n is equal to 100 or some thousands. Okay, next, so you know the basic definition, clock rate, which is represented by alphabet F. So basic machine cycle, it is a frequency opposite to frequency. Okay, so whenever you will bring a computer, you might have right click on the computer and check the property. You will get to know speed of the computer. You will get like 2.6 gigahertz, 3.5 gigahertz, like that. So that gigahertz is frequency. If you reciprocal of that, you will get a clock rate. To generate one clock cycle, how much time it will take, that is called as clock rate. Or in 1 second, how many clock cycles it will produce. Okay, so problem size, it depends. It is not fixed for complete duration. If you are executing a simple C program, it will be very small because you are hardly using printf and scanf for some computation. But if same computer you are using for some online transaction or for data download from the internet, definitely computational workload will increases. Okay, CPU time, actual CPU time taken to execute a program, it is with respect to a program. Okay, you can change this in a broader view called as task, or you can change this in terms of process. Okay, task means it can be anything like printing a statement, or it is a calculation of average of some numbers, or it is the complex activity called as online transaction. That means what? Task means either simple or complex like online transaction. No matter whatever a task is, actual how much time it has taken, that is called as CPU time. So it is capital T. It is only the capital letter. Please remember, only this is a capital alphabet. So rest all are small. Next one is IO demand, time taken for data collect or return to the user. See what happens here. IO demand is, you will assume you are transacting through ATM. You will put a card. After the card, nowadays we are getting a message, do not try to remove the card until the chip gets read by the system. So here one message is given to the user, so user will keep waiting until he will get a next prompt to give his input. So that is called IO demand. The processor is demanding something from the user. So how it will show is, it is by the menu based. So after reading that chip details, now what that main computer will do is, it will give menu, and it is expecting user to give some of his choice, like a withdrawal, mini slip, change of the pin, something like that. Okay, so here it is demanding to give something from the user. So what happens after he gives some of the data, then he will perform transactions and all those things. Okay, so finally what it has to give, it has to give the cash if he has went for a withdrawal, plus printout of the transaction slip. These all are the output. Here also one is input demand, one other is output demand. Input means you can think like pin number, output means cash dispense, that is called as demand. So this is simple word. Okay, input demand is shown, input output demand is shown by small letter d. Memory capacity, this we know already, it is in terms of bytes, kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes. Okay, it is definition of memory capacity is memory required to store a program, store a task, etc. Okay, next one little complex definition is communication overhead, amount of time spent for inter-processor communication. So as I mentioned, calculation will take place in one computer, data will be present in another computer. Here what the host computer should do is, first he has to send a request for a computer where data is present. The data host will acknowledge with the proper authentication. Then the calculating computer need to send a request for which type of data it is requesting, then the data fetch will take place and calculation takes place in a first computer, and finally answer will be stored on the second computer where data should be stored. Here the definition of communication overhead is time taken to establish a communication from main computer to a subcomputer plus data fetch time plus result storing time. So it depends upon many factors. It is not only processor speed dependency, it is also dependent on the strength of the network what is between two computers. If the quality of service is good, the data can be expected can be reached it will reaches very fast. If the quality of service is lower, definitely it will take more time. Hence h, small letter h, which is a communication overhead, is not only function of the n, it is also the function of non-measurable parameters like quality of service. Even though sometimes what happens, even though we have opted for good quality of service, because of geographical disturbances we will get disturbances like earthquake or heavy floods. During such a time also we will suffer loss of communication. So that doesn't mean communication overhead is independent of geographical activities. Communication overhead generally we take it as best case. Sometimes it is very difficult to predict, okay, the communication overhead. Next one, as I mentioned, computer cost. It is cost of the hardware. Computer cost plus printer cost plus PCI cost, so on. So here, as we go on increasing facility for the computer, definitely its cost keeps increasing. So the last one is programming overhead. So development cost of the software. So here it may be in terms of salary of the developer, salary of the test engineers, etc. So these all will be included and finally considered as programming overhead. Okay, so the last concept is evolution of scalable computers. How the computer scalable took based on 4 parameters. One is evolution based on the scalability was based on evolution. So I think in our C programming or in our microprocessor subject we have studied how the computers were in old days and how the computers are in present day. Old days there were mechanical computers which were room size. Their architecture has changed to VLSI generation of today, where we can keep a computer on a table with a small power supply. We can execute any complex operations. Okay, so that is with respect to evolution. So based on size, how was the computer's old days? It was a room size. Now it is almost we can expect as hand size or pocket size. Why I am mentioning pocket size is it is a mobile. Okay, so mobile is almost, it can do all the activities equal to the computer nowadays. Okay, time scalable. Time taken to execute a program on old computer and same program on present day's computer. So present day we have superscalar computer and vector computer. So where if we take execution of simple C program on old computer, it might be in terms of seconds or 2 seconds, but if we execute a program in terms of if we execute a program on supercomputer, definitely output will be in terms of nanoseconds. That is what difference between the old generation and present day architecture computers. So the last one, problem size. Regular problems to artificial intelligence based problems. So we can expect old day computer used to do only the work related to data of that computer itself. Nowadays artificial intelligence is in the existence, where computer will predict what user might do in the next moment. Based on that it keeps on giving the possible inputs for him or providing a different type of solutions. Here evolution took place based on all the 4 parameters. Okay, fine, thank you. That finishes our first module.